Today I'm LARPing as Watch Mojo as we count down the 10 most expensive records sold on Discogs.com this year, 2026. Hit the intro. Hey, hi, hello everybody, how's it going, Hope you're doing good, hope you're doing well. I'm back again in everybody's favorite t-shirt, the bright orange camo. The moment I saw this in the thrift store, I was like, I need to have this shirt. But we're not here to talk about this shirt, we're here to talk about 10 specific records. But before we do, my name is Dan Frampton, all one word, the O's a zero. I'm the internet's most ruthless gatekeeper. This is not a gimmick, I am a very serious man. Okay, now that we got all that straight and all out of the way, hit like, press subscribe, and let's talk about the 10 most expensive records sold on Discogs in the year 2026. Coming in at number 10, we got Initium by Sam Hain, made in 1984 and sold this year for a whopping $7,500. Now I have a sneaking suspicion that this was sold by Danzig himself. These Sam Hain records are out of print, they're or out of press, whatever you're supposed to say when it comes to vinyl. But anyway, they're really hard to get your hands on, right? And I think Danzig is doing that on purpose so the physical copies retain value. But that is just me recklessly speculating. Either way, this record sold for $7,500, and there's a pretty cool little story about it. Apparently, according to Discogs.com over here, I'm just going to summarize this article. There's 3 test pressings, but 4 versions of the first pressing, but only 1 official first pressing. And that first pressing was really hard for the band to get the hands on. So what happened was, is they showed up at the pressing plant and the records weren't done. The guy who owned the plant or whatever was leaving for the day, but Danzig and the gang, they caught him in the parking lot. And they apparently, according to legend, were like, no, we came for our records. You promised records. We're not leaving without records. So apparently after that, the guy took them into the plant, they powered it all up, and Glenn Danzig and the band themselves pressed the very first ever pressings of Initium by Sam Hain. Legendary, absolutely iconic story over there. And if all of that is true, and that was one of the ones that sold, I'm surprised it only fetched $7,500. But something tells me that Danzig is the one unloading these things himself. Again, that's just me speculating, but I think there's something to it. All right, the next record coming in at number 9, more Danzig with the Misfits' Cough Cool BW She 1977 for $7,999. Again, I'm thinking that Glenn Danzig himself is running all the way to the bank off of these Discog sales. So even though it was sold this year for $7,999, there's apparently a listing for $15,336.57. That is insane, and this last was sold on May 7th, 2026 for nearly $8,000. $1 shy of $8,000. And I think it's crazy, out of the top 10, 2 of these spots are taken by Danzig. But we're only 20% of the way through this. There might even be more Danzig coming up. Coming in at number 8, not necessarily more Danzig, but more punk rock. 3 out of these 10 slots so far, all punk records. Number 8, Germs, Forming, 1977 for a cool $8,000. And now you can go see a listing for it for $11,280, bro. The Germs. Imagine Darby Crash was alive today to see these kinds of prices attached to this kind of record. And in the notes it says, the first pressing, label states true mono. Back of picture sleeve states, for extra copies, send $1 to ... Lyric sheet with once more you morons, and published by Lexitron Music /ASCAP. Some second pressing vinyl were distributed with first pressing sleeves and inserts. The untitled live song is Sexy Boy, not to be confused with Shawn Michaels' entrance theme from the 90s. 3 out of 7, all punk. But the next entry on our list over here, not a punk band, I have no idea about Boom Reply Percussion Ensemble 1973 for $9,195. I don't have really much to say about this, but it was bought and then relisted for $12,000. It seems like these record collectors are acting like art curators. And keep that in mind for our number 1 entry, because art curation and record collection meet head on at our number 1 spot, but we're not there yet. Coming in at number 6, we got the Beatles with Yesterday and Today for a flat 10 grand, being flipped for $14,100. I'm not gonna say anything more about the Beatles. I have nothing to say about them, but they're the 6th most expensive record sold on Discogs this year. Number 5, Glenn Danzig, coming in again with his 3rd entry in the top 10. I'm thinking Glenn Danzig needed to pay some bills this year, and he unloaded Who Killed Marilyn, recorded in 1983, for $10,000. And in the notes, the first pressing came out August 5th, 1981. That is 4 years before my actual birthday. There's 1,000 copies on black vinyl, released 19 years to the day after Marilyn Monroe's body was found. Legendary, iconic, historic. Glenn Danzig has $26,000 in his pocket off of 3 records in the year 2026. Is that a coincidence? 26,000 the year 2026? I don't know. Then number 4, we got Queen with Bohemian Rhapsody. Nothing much to say here. This is just a single, 2 songs for $10,919, bro. That's a lot of money. It's certainly a lot of money for some wax with some audio pressed into it. But all right, it is Queen. I wonder if we're gonna get any more punk rock records on here. We have 3 more to go, and people are just throwing money all around Discog. It's crazy, dude. Number 3, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, 1973, for $12,162, being relisted for, don't adjust your screens, ladies and gentlemen, $32,046, dude. $32,000. All right. There isn't anything that would make me spend this kind of money on a record. Nothing, dude. Absolutely nothing. It could be a Bob Dylan record produced by Ween, pressed by Tom Waits, and sold by Jack Black, accumulating a value of like $50,000, and I still wouldn't buy it. I wouldn't be able to be honest. But number 2, of course, when you think of Pink Floyd, you're gonna think of Led Zeppelin, but this box set comes in like a gig box set over here for $24,000 flat, being relisted for $35,000 for a vinyl box set, dude. Led Zeppelin, egregious, dude. Absolutely. I couldn't imagine doing it. But number 1, the thing that broke this week, the thing that's making the news and making the rounds, is the thing that's art curation and record collection coming together, because the White Stripes just sold a single for Lafayette Blues and Sugar Never Tasted So Good this week for $25,000. Now, what makes this special is that there's only like a limited number of these things made, where it looks like, according to the stats here, 20 people have it, 589 people want it, and it's being relisted for $35,000. And what makes it so special is each one of these covers were hand painted by the White Stripes. And the ones that weren't painted by Jack White were apparently painted by this David Buick character. He owned Italy Records. But either way, hand painted White Stripes pre-fame records being listed now for $35,249.99. Good for you. That's crazy. 2 songs on vinyl, hand-painted sleeve, crazy amounts of money. Jack White, incredible dude. Now, you know how earlier I was saying I got the vibe that Glenn Danzig is the one pocketing all the money for all the Danzig records being sold? I don't feel the same way about the White Stripes one. I don't think, or at least I don't have that gut intuition that tells me that Jack White is making this money off of this. Don't think that that's true. And every artist that starts a thing in the back of their mind thinks, oh, one day this thing's going to be worth a lot, but it turns out that it's kind of like a pipe dream and it's not really real. This is one of the times that it turned out to be really real, where you're not famous, you're just making rock and roll music, and you're hand painting 20 sleeves. According to the reporting, it says that 222 people own the title, but according to these stats on Discog, it only says 20 have it. So I'm gonna go with the Discog thing because that's where the listings are and that's where all of this is being documented and sold and everything like that. These are where the stats are. And this reporting comes from Loudwire and they do not have the best reputation. But anyway, that's a top 10 list. Frampton Mojo. Watch Frampton? Dan Frampton, all one word. The Oza Watch Mojo? That doesn't make any sense. But anyway, thank you for watching it. Remember, you need to hit like, you need to press subscribe, and also moshman.bigcartel.com. You can buy my comic books. I wrote them, I drew them, I printed them. You can go own them. We'll send them out personally. I don't know if they're going to be worth $25,000 in 20 years. Actually, they're not going to be worth that. 100% not. But own a part of history right now. My comic books. All right, I guess that's the entire video. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.